Hey, what's up? It's your boy D-Man's coming at you from Sporticus 300. This video right here is going to be about the biggest NFL bust from every single team in the NFL history. I don't know if there is or isn't a biggest bust of all time, but if you think so, just go ahead down in the comments below. Let me know who you think the biggest NFL bust of all time is. The biggest bust of all time, in your opinion, might not even be on my list. This list right here is compiled from me, who I believe the biggest bust from every single team is. There is no real right or wrong answer, but with the NFL draft coming up, I think it's interesting to think who the biggest bust of all time truly is. We're going to go team by team, and I'm going to let you know who I think the biggest bust of all time is, and let you know a little bit about each and every player of why I believe that they're a bust. Number one, we're going to go Arizona Cardinals, and I believe it's Jonathan Cooper, who was the 7th overall pick in 2013. He was an offensive guard. The Cardinals had high hopes for him. 3 weeks after signing him, he tore his fibula and was placed on the injured reserve, missing an entire season. He'd just go on to start 11 games the next 2 years before being traded to the Patriots, where he never played a single down for them. And he went on to the Cowboys and only played 13 games for them. Next, we're going to go Atlanta Falcons, and I believe that that's Jamal Anderson. Jamal Anderson was a defensive end, 8th overall in the 2007 draft. He was a defensive end, just never really amounted to much there in Atlanta. And with the 8th overall pick, you need to come up with better numbers than what he did. Next, we're going to go Baltimore Ravens. Now, I think this could be up for debate. You could have Brashard Perriman. You could have Kyle Bowler. There's several different guys I think you could really go here, but I'm going to go Kyle Bowler. The dude just was injured way too much. I think the most he ever played in an entire season was 11 games, and that's just not what you're hoping for with a 19th overall pick, a future quarterback to carry your franchise. He just never amounted to a whole lot there. Next, you got the Buffalo Bills. Aaron Maben, linebacker, went 11th overall in 2009. Maben left Penn State early, where he had 10 sacks. The Bills jumped on him too early, in my opinion, in the draft. He missed the first 2 games in a season due to holding out, and then by the end of his second season in Buffalo, they got rid of him. He was already gone. Now, with the 11th overall pick, you need to be producing more than 2 years on a team. Just a huge bust there. Now, this one is kind of interesting. Carolina Panthers, Dwayne Jarrett, went 45th overall in the 2007 draft. And you might be like, wow, you're going 2nd round draft as the biggest bust of all time for that team? I'm saying yes. The 2nd round pick was a 2-time All-American at USC. But in the NFL, he really never found his way. He only had 35 receptions in his 4-year NFL career. 35 receptions. That's just ridiculous. That's not even 10 a season. Just a huge letdown for Carolina. Next, Chicago Bears. We're going Curtis Enis. He was a 5th pick in the 98 draft. The dude just he started 3 years in the NFL. That's what I was thinking there. He was a fullback in his 3rd season, rushing for only 84 yards. He later signed just a 1-year contract deal with the Cleveland Browns, and then he was forced to retire due to injury to his knee at the age of 24. Just sad. This next one, a lot of people are going to be like, he wasn't a bust. He wasn't a bust. I remember, if you remember anything from him, you should just remember garbage. His name is Akili Smith, played for the Cincinnati Bengals. 3rd overall pick in 1999. Akili Smith just started 17 games in 4 seasons while he was in Cincinnati. And in those games, he went 3-14. for the 3rd overall pick in the entire NFL draft, you go 3-14 in your entire career. Terrible. This next one is near and dear to me. It breaks my heart. As you can tell, I'm a Bronco fan, but this dude was my guy back in the day. Cleveland Browns, Tim Couch. You can always throw out the excuse he never had the receivers, never had the line. His best receiver he ever had was Kevin Johnson. The dude just never put up the numbers for a 1st overall pick. If you're the 1st overall pick, you need to be able to carry that team and move them on to the promised land. Make some bad receivers start looking better. I mean, look at Brady, as much as I hate to say it, but Brady does his thing, and he turns no-name receivers into superstars. Tim Couch just never lived up to the hype, unfortunately. Next, we got the Dallas Cowboys. Bobby Carpenter, linebacker, went 18th overall in 2006. Bill Parcells wanted him because his dad played for Bill Parcells, but the Cowboys ended up drafting him, and he was traded off to the Rams after only accumulating 3.5 sacks in 4 years with the Dallas Cowboys. That's terrible. Next, my team, Denver Broncos. Ted Gregory, defensive tackle. We took him 26th overall in 1998. Gregory was traded to the Saints before the season even started, his rookie year. And he only played 3 games in his entire career before having to retire. Denver definitely, I don't want to say saw something there, but there was no reason for him to be drafted there. Just a terrible, terrible pick. Never amounted to anything. Next, the Detroit Lions. We're going Andre Ware, 7th overall in the 1990 draft. The scouting director quit the day after he was drafted. He wanted no parts of him. And wouldn't it be funny to see that Ware would only start 6 games in his 4-year career? That scout definitely saw something, and unfortunately the Lions haven't turned it much around since then. But yeah, unfortunately it didn't work out for Ware. Next, we got the Green Bay Packers. We're going Tony Mandarich, offensive lineman, 2nd overall pick in 1989. Most noting thing that he's known for, honestly, is a Sports Illustrated cover. You haven't seen it, you're not missing much. But I mean, that's honestly what he's known for, and it's one of the biggest busts in the history of the NFL. Next, we got the Texans. We got Okoye, and he was a 10th pick overall in defensive tackle in 2007. He finished with 5.5 sacks after his first season, and a lot of people saw a lot of upside with that, but then he only combined for another 5.5 sacks over the next 3 seasons that he was in Houston. Just never added up to being a top 10 pick. Next, we're going the Indianapolis Colts. We're going Jeff George here. He was the 1st overall pick in the entire 1990 draft. He played 11 seasons. Now, don't get me wrong. He had a long career, but his stint in Indianapolis didn't last too long. He went only 14 of 35 in 4 years with the Colts, including a 1-15 season in his 2nd year. They ended up just getting rid of him. He just was playing terrible, never amounted to that 1st overall pick in the 1990 draft. Next, we're going the Jags. Blaine Gabbert, 10th overall pick in 2011. The Jaguars traded up 6 spots to get Gabbert, who would only play in only 5 games in 3 seasons in Jacksonville. Terrible. Next, we're going the Kansas City Chiefs. We're going to go Todd Blackledge. He was a 7th overall pick, quarterback, in the 1983 draft. Now, Blackledge is most known for being the quarterback drafted before Jim Kelly and Dan Marino. I know the Chiefs got to be kicking themselves, could have having had either Marino or Kelly, both phenomenal quarterbacks. He ended up with more interceptions and touchdowns in his entire NFL career. Just not that good. Next, the LA Chargers, Ryan Leaf. I don't think you really need to talk about Ryan Leaf. I think everybody knows what a bust Ryan Leaf was. Dude, he was terrible. Next, we're going Rams. We're going Lawrence Phillips, running back, 6th overall in 1996. I'm sorry. He was a beast when he was at Nebraska, but the numbers that he put up in the NFL just weren't very good, and he had a ton of off-field issues. Just never amounted to a pro. The Miami Dolphins, Deion Jordan, 3rd overall pick in 2013. Jordan started just 1 game in his first 2 seasons with the Dolphins, and then he was suspended for the entire 15 season due to violating the substance abuse policy, and he didn't play in the 2016 season either. Then was resurfaced last year with the Seahawks. So, you know, the Dolphins just got no value out of him whatsoever. Vikings next. We're going Troy Williamson, 7th overall pick in 2005. The Vikings were hoping he would take on that Randy Moss role, but he played 3 seasons there with 87 catches and no, I'm sorry, he played 5 seasons there and 87 catches. That's terrible for the 7th overall pick. Just boggles my mind. The next, we're going New England Patriots. We're going Chris Singleton, linebacker, 8th overall in 1990. The Patriots hoped to have obtained a great pass rusher, but the 3+ years in New England, Singleton had just 4 sacks and never started over 7 games in an entire season. The next one kind of cracks me up. We're going Saints. Russell Erxbulin. I'm sure I butchered his name, but he was a punter, and he was drafted 11th overall in 1979. Could you imagine if that happened in this modern day draft? If the 11th pick in the entire NFL draft was a punter? And the crazy thing about him is he only played 5 seasons. Then he took 4 years off, and he came back for 1 game to play with the Detroit Lions. It boggles my mind how the Saints took a punter, 11th overall. I wouldn't take a kicker in the 11th round of a fantasy draft, and they took a punter 11th overall. Blows me away. Next, we're going Giants. We're going with Ron Dayne, the Ron Dayne train. The most yards he ever amounted to get in an entire season in New York was 770. Dude just never amounted to a whole lot in New York. Next, we're going Jets. Vernon Gholston, linebacker, 6th overall in 2008. He only played 3 years in the entire NFL, in his entire NFL career, starting in only 5 games and never got a single sack ever. Just terrible. Next, we'll go Oakland Raiders. Jamarcus Russell, quarterback, 1st overall pick in 2007. Dude had so many on the field and off the field issues. He just never amounted to anything, could never keep his weight under control. He ended up just being a bum, just booted out of the league. No one wanted him. Sad. Really sad. Next, we're going Philadelphia Eagles. Kevin Allen, offensive lineman, 9th overall pick in the 1985 draft. He only lasted 1 season in the NFL after he tested positive in training camp in a second training camp for cocaine, and was later charged with rape and pleaded guilty to sexual assault charges. Terrible signing for the Philadelphia Eagles. Next, we're going Steelers. We're going Huey Richardson, linebacker, 15th overall in 1991. They panicked on draft day. Literally picked 12, 13, and 14 were all the guys on their board, and all of them were picked up right before their pick. So they went with Huey Richardson, and Huey played there for 1 season, was dealt off to the Redskins for a 7th round pick, and he was out of the NFL the next year. Terrible. Next, we're going with the 49ers. We're going to go Jim Druckenmiller, 26th overall pick in 1997. Druckenmiller, they were hoping to find a young guy to take over for Steve Young, but it wasn't in him. He only lasted 2 seasons in his entire NFL career. Just was a terrible, terrible pick. Next, we're going Seahawks. Aaron Curry, linebacker, 4th overall pick in 2009. Seahawks had huge expectations for Curry, but he struggled to only get 5.5 sacks in his entire career. Just never amounted to what they saw in him, what a lot of experts even saw in him. Next, Tampa Bay Buccaneers, Keith McCants, linebacker, 4th overall in 1990. McCants was expected by some to be the #1 overall pick, but fell to 4th due to some off the field issues. The Bucs released him after 3 mediocre seasons that he had, and then he had a few brief stops in Houston and Arizona before just calling it quits in 1995. Terrible, terrible career. Next, we're going Tennessee Titans, and I think with the Titans we got to go Jake Locker here. Quarterback, went 8th overall in 2011. Jake Locker, he did deal with a ton of injuries, but he just said he had no passion to play football anymore at the age of 25. So unfortunately, that was just a throwaway first round 8th overall pick. Terrible. And last but not least, we're going Washington Redskins, and we're going to go Heath Schuler, 3rd overall pick, quarterback in 1994. He started in only 13 games in his first 2 seasons with the Redskins, and then lost his job in his 3rd season to Gus Frerotte. Out of all people to lose your job to, Gus Frerotte. I mean, come on. Then he was traded to the Saints, where he spent 1 year before having his career just come to an end. That there ends the video. Down below in the comments, just let me know who you think the biggest bust of all these were, or who you think the biggest bust was, or who you think I missed. Because I'm not saying I didn't miss a guy. I'm just interested to know. Draft season's coming up. I know everybody's hyped. But you know there's going to be somebody coming out of this draft class that just isn't going to amount. And in the comments below, let me know who you think might be a huge bust in this draft. Who you might think might be way overrated. Maybe not necessarily a bust, but wow, this guy's a first round talent. No, I don't see that. Just down below, let me know. And also let me know some other videos you might like me to put out. You know, some top 10s, whatever. You know, just give this video a like, a thumbs up for me. Down in the comments below, just let me know other videos down the road you want to see. Let me know some of the guys you think I missed, and give me a like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys next time. Y'all, take it easy. Out.